Слава Україні, нашим захисникам.
Glory to Ukraine and to our defenders. This is Military Media Center. Today, we are going to be briefed by the Captured and Advanced Weapons and Military Equipment Research Center of the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Today, we are going to be briefed about new characteristics of newly destroyed Shahed 136 drones. After the briefing, you will be able to see the features of the destroyed UAVs. Please welcome our speaker. Unfortunately, words like kamikaze drone, UAV, and a number of others have become an integral part of the everyday vocabulary of many Ukrainians. It is difficult to deny the fact that the massive use of UAVs is one of the features of the Russian Federation's large-scale aggression against Ukraine. You might be surprised that the subject of our today's briefing is the Shahed 136 loitering munition. Indeed, our research center has repeatedly demonstrated the Russian military-industrial complex clumsy attempts to modify this drone. However, Russia does not give up its intention to kill and mutilate Ukrainians. Therefore, we present the features of the so-called new generation Shahed 136. As a reminder, this is a loitering munition that the Russian Federation continues to use to strike critical infrastructure facilities and residential buildings, causing death and grief to civilians. Here you can see the characteristics of a new Shahed 136. In fact, they are all identical to those of the previous models of this kamikaze drone, except for the engine. However, this is only a change of the manufacturer country. The capabilities of micropilot UAV flight control systems MD-550 are the same as those of the previous Mado MD-550. Now let's talk about novelties that somehow distinguish the old drone from the current one. First of all, it is the way the body is made. Until December of 2023, our research center's military personnel found a Shahed 136 that had a one-piece hull. The modification has a composite fuselage. In this photo, you can see the winglets mounted. The markings have also changed. A different font and series is visually observed. It is likely that this may have more to do with production than with politics, since in both cases the Russians apply the markings themselves. In addition to the body, the filler has changed. Previously, printed cells were used, but now it's a completely dense material similar to a foam. Our center's research has shown that both types of filler do not differ functionally. We assume that this replacement is due to the desire to reduce the cost of manufacturing, so to speak, the outer case of the loitering munition. The occupiers have also resorted to using a new server and, as already mentioned, an engine. These are KST X30-12-165 and micropilot UAV flight control systems MD-550. You can see them and their predecessors at the stand. Our center's personnel will describe their features in detail. As in the previous case, this displacement did not lead to modernization or degradation of the Shahed's characteristics. At first glance, this transformation appears to be cosmetic. However, it may indicate the Russians' desire to establish mass production of this UAV. An example of the sanctions' effectiveness imposed by Ukrainian partners against the Russian military-industrial complex is the replacement of the global navigation satellite system's antenna. While the enemy tended to use imported models, it is now forced to use a Cometa unit of its own production. However, its individual components, such as patch antennas, are of foreign origin. This only confirms the need to further strengthen sanctions pressure on the Russian Federation. Because the so-called important substitution in Russia is carried out with the help of other foreign components. Our center's research shows that antennas with the Kometa unit are found in Russian Orlan-10 UAVs and flight correction modules for FAB-500 bombs. Therefore, the replacement of the antenna is the Shahed-136 may also indicate attempts to unify the production of precision weapons by the Russian military-industrial complex. Shahed-136 of the older generation had a battery consisting of 18650 Leon accumulators, whereas the new loitering munitions have a Russian Delta battery, helium battery. As in the previous case, the enemy is trying to unify production and reduce its cost wherever possible, even in such a part as the battery. An important feature is the replacement of the Shahed-136 warhead. The old generations of this loitering munition contained a special warhead that was marked in Latin and not in Farsi, as one might think. Whereas in the latest version of the Shahed-136, the center's servicemen found a fundamentally different warhead, which had Cyrillic markings and serial numbers. A characteristic feature is also the difference in shape and the fact that it was filled with tungsten balls. It's worth noting that, in their usual manner, the Russian military erased some components of the markings to conceal information important for identification. Thus, we can say the following. The new Shahed-136 or Geran-2 does not fundamentally differ from the earlier models. Their characteristics are identical. The described differences are cosmetic in nature and are aimed at achieving the simple goal of reducing the production cost of the Shahed-136. The replacement of Shahed-136 or Geran-2 parts simultaneously confirm the effectiveness of foreign sanctions and Russia's desire to unify the production of UAVs and other high-tech production. We do not exclude the fact that the Russian Federation, looking for simple technical solutions, reducing the cost of materials and establishing the supply of substitute components, is trying to establish the production of this loitering munition and make it mass-produced. However, our previous research has shown that the Russian military-industrial complex is not capable of ensuring the entire Shahed-136 production cycle on its own. The example of import substitution is in the form of the Russian Kometa unit, which includes components of foreign origin, confirms the above statement. However, the very fact of another attempt to modify Shahed-136, third attempt, tells us that Russia is not going to abandon its aggressive intentions. Russia is looking for new ways to scorch our land, destroy our homes and kill each of us. The Geneva Conventions and other norms of international humanitarian law are demonstrably flouted by the aggression. Today, Russia is testing new technical solutions in Shahed-136, and tomorrow it will again modernize cruise and ballistic missiles. If the Russian Federation is not denied access to the relevant components and technologies, nothing will stop it from seeking more deadly and inhumane weapons. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your briefing and for the information concerning destroyed old and new Russian UAVs. Now you have the opportunity to take a look at its components. This is Military Media Center, the only information platform of the Ukraine. We protect what belongs to us, standing united for a victory.